comes to choosing the best PC parts for your next gaming PC, it can be tricky to know what to pick. And with so many great options on the market right now, but equally plenty of pricing volatility, picking apart the good components from the bad can be a real challenge. That's why today I've gathered up the best PC parts I've built with, tested, and reviewed over the last few months, so I can recommend my favourite budget, mid-range, and high-end components in each category, from GPUs to CPU coolers, power supply, motherboards, and everything in between. Let's do this. Take your build to the next level with Apacer's sleek RGB DDR5 memory. Available with a wide range of speeds and capacities, the Apacer Panther lineup has a kit for everyone. A great looking aluminium alloy heatsink offers excellent heat dissipation, while Intel XMP 3.0 and AMD Expo certification means this RAM is a great fit for Team Red and Team Blue systems. Plus, RGB support in Asus, Gigabyte, MSI, and ASRock software suites makes this an easy addition to any build. Learn more at the first link in the description below. I wanted to make this video not only to provide you with some inspiration and ideas for your next systems, but also highlight some of the great stuff that we've reviewed recently. And we've reviewed a lot. And what better place to start than with GPUs? Now, when it comes to the GPU market right now, it's safe to say there's been a lot of movement. We've documented this quite closely on the channel, whether it be the launch of Nvidia's super lineup of GPUs, AMD's latest 7900 GRE release, or even the seemingly endless number of price drops within the market. Now, one great example of this and my more entry-level GPU recommendation is the RX 7700 XT. Now, I realise this is not a cheap card, especially not when compared to the likes of Intel's RK750 or AMD's own 7600. However, since its launch, when it landed for $449, it's seen a price drop down to $399, and at 1440p it provides plainly some of the best price to performance metrics we've ever seen. This is a card that has 12 gigabytes of video memory, again a massive improvement over the 4060 and RX 7600, with plenty of rasterization performance too. Now, of course, if you're shopping on a lower budget than this, I would consider something like the RTX 3060 or RX 7600. The real budget end of the GPU market's kind of hard right now, and you can learn more about that in our recent best GPUs to buy video linked in the cards section now. Another GPU entrant and my mid-range pick for this build is the 7900 GRE, and I'm afraid to say it, sorry Nvidia, even with the advent of Super, AMD are still winning out, especially at these price points. This card comes in at a fairly reasonable $549 US, that's $50 cheaper than the RTX 4070 Super, but it provides better performance. Ray tracing isn't quite as good, and I will say I don't like FSR3 nearly as much as I like DLSS3, especially with FrameGen. However, this is a really great card. The rasterization performance is superb, the 16 gigs of video memory is fantastic, and overall as a package, I've been really impressed. On the high end, my high-end GPU recommendation would be the RTX 4090 or 4080 Super. I realise I've recommended two cards there. The 4090 is only really a GPU I think those of you with huge amounts of money should buy, and the 4080 Super, while still expensive at $1,000, it's the much more reasonable, I don't want to say reasonable, but it's the more realistic buy for those of you building very high-end systems. And you can check out full reviews of all these cards and everything else mentioned today in the cards now, and where to buy links down below. But no good PC build is assembled with the GPU only, and that's why I've gathered up all of my favourite components within the different categories for this video. And CPU coolers is an area that often doesn't get a great deal of love and attention, but it's a place where we've been doing quite a bit of testing recently. A great example of that at the budget end is the Deepcool AG400. Now, in a market where there are loads of competitive budget options available, especially from the likes of Johnsbro and Vetru, Deepcool are doing a great job keeping up. I've always loved how some of their air coolers have installed. I think they're really easy to actually pop onto the processor itself. This actually comes in right now on Newegg at $24.99, so it's incredibly reasonably priced. That is, in my mind, an amount of money which is not throwaway, but if you were going to otherwise go for a stock cooler, it's nominal enough that this makes sense, and you'll find great mileage on the likes of a 7600 or especially the 7600X, where you want to hit those all-important boost clock speeds. Way quieter than a stock cooler, way nicer, and I think a really important cooler to highlight in today's video. The Cooler Master Atmos 240 is my mid-range pick. If you want a 240mm all-in-one liquid cooler, it does not get much better than this. Now, to be clear, this is not nearly as good value in terms of pricing as the likes of something like Deepcool's LS520, one of my favourite budget AIOs, but you are going to get a lot more performance for your money. The Atmos range range has been pretty superb across the board. The 360s, one of my favorites and nearly won the high-end recommendation too. You can even 3D print cool things like the CPU water block if you want to upgrade that and make it a bit your own, shall we say. Now, we've reviewed the Atmos coolers on the website. These have received awards from our online editorial team and we've been very, very impressed. Personally, love the Atmos. Very, very nice sort of presentation, easy to install, and crucially, it performs really well. And on a personal note, as someone who's used Cooler Master products for years, it's great to see them coming back with great products like this. Now, at the top end of the market is this, my recommendation for one of the best high-end coolers right now. This is the iCUE Link H150i LCD, but they do a non-LCD version and a H170i with a 420mm radiator. I really like iCUE Link, and although we have had some issues and bugs with it, on the whole, it's been very impressive. iCUE Link remains the best software, in my opinion, when it comes to controlling loads of different things, but primarily Corsair CPU coolers and Corsair fans. You get the high-end QX fans with here as well, so although the cooler is incredibly expensive, I do feel like you are getting some features for that price point, especially when considering some of the other expensive options available that rival the H150i. This is a recommendation for those of you spending a lot of money on your next gaming PC. But of course, you probably want a CPU to cool with your new CPU cooler, and that's where my 3 processor recommendations come into play. Starting at the budget end, this is the AMD Ryzen 5 7600. Now, this CPU is a bit of a powerhouse, 6 cores, 12 threads, and it can commonly be found for under $200, and comfortably so. This is basically a 7600X with slower clock speeds. It's still overclockable though on the right motherboard, and it's a chip that runs very cool with a basic 65-watt TDP, and as I say, an entry-level price point. AMD Ryzen are really on a roll at the moment, and recommending Intel CPUs right now, aside from all the problems with them at the moment, is difficult regardless. The socket that these AMD processors are using is good now and into the future, meaning if you pick up a Ryzen chip, it's much easier to upgrade it down the line when compared with the Intel counterparts. That reigns no more true than with the 7800X 3D, the best mid-range CPU in my opinion. Now, a Ryzen 7 3D chip as a mid-range processor, James, really? Well, when you look at pricing in the market, actually yes. I've seen this as low as $350, and when you compare that to even Intel's Core i5-14600K, which clocks in at $305 to $315, you can see the pricing proximity of this makes it a very attractive bet. You get 8 cores, you get 16 threads, and you get decent clock speeds. We're talking a 5 GHz boost. However, the major thing with this is the cache. AMD's 3D stack cache makes a massive difference and unlocks one of the biggest bottlenecks in modern gaming CPUs. This thing's got nearly 100 megs of L3 cache, which provides pretty exceptional performance across the board. Of course, on the high end, AMD do lose out though, and Intel's Core i9-14900K, despite running incredibly hot, being very expensive, and on a socket that's basically at the end of its life, is the recommendation I have to give. Although I don't think it's the most future-proofed and sensible purchasing decision, it's definitely the best high-end CPU right now. For your CPU, you're of course going to need to get yourself a good motherboard. And again, here I've picked out 3 options. Ironically, 3 options that work perfectly with my 3 CPU options. How convenient. On the bottom end of the spectrum is this ASRock Pro B650M RS. This is a really, really fantastic motherboard for those of you looking at a no-frills design where a Wi-Fi derivative is available, but still allows you to get key features like overclocking of the CPU and of course the memory. It supports AMD Expo, so you can clock that memory up to the next level, and PCI Generation 5. You only get it on the M.2 drive, not the graphics card, but that's what we want. The biggest problem with Intel boards is you just don't get Gen 5 NVMe support. And with those Gen 5 drives becoming more and more common and far, far cheaper, that is a real deal breaker. Moving up the spectrum to the mid-range, Gigabyte's B650 Gaming X-AX has been the best mid-range board I've seen for a long time. In loads of our builds, we've recommended this. We bought this, I think, about like a year ago now when we first had our first set of Ryzen CPUs in, and it just gets better and better and better. This version comes with Wi-Fi and 2.5 gig Ethernet. You get PCI Gen 5, of course, for the NVMe drive only. It's a really great board with decent VRM cooling, decent overclocking headroom, and great RAM overclocking support. Really reliable, really great to use, and I am a big fan actually of Gigabyte's BIOS. Talking of BIOSes, if you want the best BIOS in the world, one of the best overclocking suites, this is the board I would go for, the ROG Maximus Formula. Now this thing is, it's not cheap, like $700. Yes, $700 for a motherboard. However, it's unbelievable. The white color scheme looks amazing. You get 1/4-inch threads on the motherboard VRMs for even better overclocking support, and this is a board designed really for those enthusiast overclockers. The reason reason I included it is more because of how incredible this board has proven for us in our testing. The overclocks you're getting on this are way better than we found on anything else. The feature set is fantastic, and yes, it's very, very expensive, but I actually think it's a bit of a marvel of engineering, and I can see why this board in particular is so popular with those overclocking. Now, I talked a moment ago about Gen 5 storage, but how important is that actually? Well, let's move on to my SSD recommendations so I can fill you all in. Now, on the budget end, the crucial P3 Plus again is a bit of a marvel. PCI Generation 4 with read and write speeds of about 5 gigabytes a second. For context, that's about 10 times quicker than even the fastest SATA SSDs from a few years ago, and you can commonly find the 1TB drive for $50 or $60. This is a really amazing value for money prospect, and those of you gaming on even a budget, I would urge to look at this drive, and it's why getting that NVMe support on your board is so important. These Gen 4 drives were very expensive, even 2 years ago, and look where we are now. On the mid-range, WD Black's SN770 is where I'd personally go. I find it hard to recommend top-of-the-line Gen 4 drives, as Gen 5 options make more sense. The SN770 provides more performance than the P3 Plus without costing a huge amount more money. Yes, you don't get massive performance strides, but it's a much better drive with better endurance figures and better consistency as far as speed is concerned. On the SSD front, the Corsair MP700 Pro SE is my Gen 5 drive of choice. Now, there's really one main reason for this. Corsair seem to be one of the only people, barring a couple, that have managed to get Gen 5 temperatures under control. Even Corsair's last MP700 with the fan and heatsink, XPG's blade entrant, and even this crucial drive we looked at with a massive heatsink just runs so hot. This one does rely on having a motherboard with a built-in M.2 heatsink, but it gets rid of especially one with any active cooling and still delivers 14 gigs on the read and 12 gigs on the write, and in our testing, this was very achievable too. You can find full reviews for everything today, linked down below, if you want to really dive into all the data. This 4TB drive is incredibly expensive, and there's no getting around that. However, I would say if you're looking for a top-end drive with top-end performance, that is what I'd go for. Next up to discuss is RAM or memory, and this is where I'm going to cheat a little bit, mainly because it's hard to recommend decent kits, and the factors behind recommending them vary so much. Now, the main thing with memory, especially DDR5, as most of you won't be buying DDR4 anymore, are speed and latency. Now, in an ideal world, you want a kit like this with 6400 megahertz of speed, or in the region of 6000 or above. This is going to allow you to take advantage of the much higher speed ceiling of DDR5. However, latency is very important too, and there's no point having a high speed, high latency kit. What you really want is a kit that has decent speed and decent latency too. Now, in an ideal world, CL30, CL32, max CL36 is where you want to go, with speeds in the region of 6000 megahertz. You get loads of kits out there from the likes of Lexar. This Team Group one is a personal favourite of mine when it comes to value for money, while I also like the Corsair Vengeance range. Honestly, I find it hard to recommend really high-end RAM kits like Corsair's Dominator range, purely because you can get the speeds and latency and the performance equivalents on lower-end, cheaper kits. There is no point having an expensive RAM kit with high latency, even if the speed is pretty good. That brings me on to power supplies before we round off with cases, my favourite part. Now, the budget end is the Corsair CX650. It's a unit that kind of fell out of favour, but it's certainly come back. This, again, is one of the cheapest 650 watt power supplies, full stop. And the fact that you get Corsair with their warranty, 80+ bronze certification, and general reliability makes it easy to recommend. Now, this one isn't modular, which is obviously a big downside and something that I prefer to see when buying a power supply. However, it's very, very affordable. And for those of you looking to build real budget builds with the likes of a 3060, 4060, 6600 from AMD, this is a really great shout, and one personally I've had no issues with. Spending a bit more though does really pay dividends, and that's where this Thermaltake Smart BM3 comes in. Now again, Thermaltake is a brand that historically I've probably not recommended that much when it comes to PSUs, but they do a really good job generally speaking, and this is one of, if not the cheapest power supply that's ATX3, semi-modular, has the Gen 5 power cable, and available in 750 or 850 watt capacities. So many of the PSUs we've seen up until very recently have only been ATX3 once you hit that 850 watt threshold, and we don't want that. For budget builds where we want a 650 or a 750, something like this is great. Now, when they say this is semi-modular, it's only only the motherboard and CPU power cables that are connected by default. The GPU, SATA, any Molex, all of that kind of stuff is all separate, and you get both the option of Gen 5 and of course the standard 6+2 pin connectors. At the top end, I would have to recommend the Corsair RM1200X Shift, and again, Corsair win my plaudits here for just a great job. Now this one here has their sideways power connectors on, so it won't be for everyone. This basically allows you to install the connectors once the power supply's already been installed without too many problems. Generally speaking, a great unit. You get digital control with these as well. Really, really nice fanless mode, 10-year warranty, 80+ gold. Really, really, really positive as far as power supplies go. So you've got all your other components. You've picked your motherboard, CPU, RAM and SSD. What about cases? Now for this, I'm kind of gonna cheat a little bit. For this one, I'm gonna come to my case area and talk you through my 3 favorite options. Now at the budget starting on the far side, we've got the new Montech Sky 2 GX. Now this is really cool because it basically fixes all the issues with the original Sky 2 and optimizes what was already a pretty good case. You get an extra 10mm of height on the top of the case for support for 66mm thick rads. Much better for those of you using an AIO cooler. Very important when you're using those new, especially Intel CPUs for the heat. You get an extra 10mm of space at the back for better cable management options. The side panel's on a hinge, the glass is great, and you get support for like up to 11 fans. It's pretty crazy. Now you get 3 included at the front of the ARGB variety, none at the back sadly, but you can of course add these as you wish, as well as key features like USB-C connectivity up top and a decent set of I/O connectors too. On the mid-range, the Corsair 2500 series, there's the X and the D, are massive favourites of mine. I love what Corsair have done with the 2500. They've brought back the design that they kind of had with the 280X back in the day, one of my favourite cases ever. I really, really like the way this thing looks. It's a little bit too minimal for me. I kind of like the more angular, extra kind of layers and perforations. However, I do think this is really, really sleek and really nice, and one of the nicest Corsair cases I feel like I've built in a long time. On the high end though, I have to recommend this. There's a reason, guys, that this is what our set PC is built in. This is the Lee & O11D Vision. Now, the O11 Vision is an absolutely stunning case. You've got this glass on the top, front and side with this sort of edgeless pillar. It's really quite phenomenal. You even get a little support mechanism up here, which basically supports the weight of all these 3 glass panels together. It's a case that shows off fans in the bucket load, and if we're talking about the original designers of dual chamber, you can't look much further than Lee & Lee. What do you guys think of my favourite, not only cases, but CPUs, coolers, motherboards, RAM, SSD, GPUs and more? Let me know in the comments down below, and you can find links to everything mentioned today there too. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to get subscribed. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.